Social work and social care scrutiny panel. The meeting has been held remotely and also in person and will be filmed and recorded for live and subsequent broadcast available through the Council's website. The Council is a data controller under the General Data Protection Regulations and the Data Protection Act 2018. We broadcast and record Council meetings to fulfil our public task obligation to enable members of the public to observe the democratic process. Data collected during the process will be retained in accordance with Council published policies available through the Council's website. Members of the Council are reminded that they should follow the Council's established meeting protocols, including around the use of the chat facility, and that comments made in the chat facility are visible to all participants in the meeting, which may include members of the public who have also received invites to the meeting. I'll now hand over to Diane for item number 1. Thank you.
We have apologies for absence from Councillor Robertson, with Councillor Curley substituting, Ross McKenzie and Councillor Dacey. We'll now move on to a roll call before asking for declarations of interest. And the following members please indicate they're present in the meeting either in person or remotely. Councillor Armstrong. Present in the chamber. Councillor Brennan.
Present in person.
Councillor Brooks.
In chamber.
Councillor Cassidy.
Present remotely.
Councillor Curley.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Jackson.
Present remotely.
Councillor Law.
Present remotely.
Councillor Moran.
In the chamber.
Councillor McCabe.
Present in chamber.
Are there any declarations of interest?
Thanks very much. I'll hand over to Craig Gibbon to talk us through item number 2. Thank you.
Thank you, and through yourself, convener. This is a finance paper we're going to follow the strategic planning cycle and covers a number of main areas. This is a period 9 projected figures of 25-26 outturn, a current capital position and a reserves position. As at period 9, we're currently projecting an overspend of 457,000 on the social care budget, and for completeness and transparency, the health part of the HSCP budget is shown at £890,000 underspend at period 9 also. This gives a total partnership underspend of 433, but as always, this is a social care element of the budget, so I'll go into a little bit more detail around that. There's a number of over and underspends within the budget. The main driver for the overspend is due to the Children and Families budget projecting a 3.319 overspend. This is mainly due to residential placements, child respite overspends at period 9. This is slightly reduced from period 9 compared to period 7. This forms part of the overall Children and Families redesign that Margaret is currently taking forward. Additional funding from Inverclyde Council as part of their budget process is also helping with this review, and will do into the next couple of years. We also have the use of the non-recurring pension monies to assist with the smoothing of the Children and Families budget, and we're using this to help us with the overall bottom line. We're showing this funding in the corporate director line for completeness. This is also partially offset by underspends in older persons and physical and sensory budget. The next section of the report highlights the HSCP's progress to date and its achievement of its in-year agreed savings. As you can see, the good progress that has been made in the delivery of savings. Further to this report, the IGIB met in December and approved the VER releases to assist with the final savings to be delivered. This will obviously kick into the new financial year because the people won't be released until the end of this financial year. Moving on to the capital section, section 4 shows the current capital position. The Community Hub capital project has already started, and this project highlights where the money has been spent to date and the progress made on the overall project. Appendix 5 shows the overall earmarked reserve position. It shows we started the year with 17.444 million, and we plan at this point to complete the year at 13.478 million based on our current projections. Obviously, this will change as we approach year end, but I appreciate, as always, there's a lot in the report, but as always, happy to take any questions from a member later.
Thank you very much, Craig. Councillor Moran.
Thanks, David. It's just, you know me, I just have a clarification here, Craig, because there seems to be a contradiction in terms of older persons that say external care home services project underspend of 164,000, right? With the increase in projected cost of 53,000. So how would we an underspend and increase the same paragraph versus, I mean,
So, yeah, thank you for the question to yourself, convener. What we had is we had a slightly higher underspend at that point, so but there has been a few increased costs in that area. So there's still an underspend. The underspend is probably in the region of about 210,000 there, but there's been a slight increase in costs, which has reduced the underspend in total.
I kind of realise that, but just a bit.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thanks, convener, and thanks again, as usual, for the report. It's very, very full and very helpful. I have a question about, I'm looking at paragraph 3.2.1 over the page on page 4. It's the first paragraph underneath that table, where it's talking about projected underspend, but that's largely due to the previously anticipated vacancies offset by overspends and additional hours and sessionals and so on. I suppose I'm a bit concerned that the overspends could well be masking, a really concerning situation in terms of vacancies and unfilled posts in social work teams, where exactly where we don't want them. And maybe there's a level of detail that you can't have here, but that's, and I think the two things are the same, in the same sentence. It depends on the quantum, I mean, and if there's any more detail on that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. A few people might want to respond to that one. So, Kate first, or yeah,
I'm happy to come in first. Absolutely, I totally take the point on board. What we can do is we can have a wee look at this to see if maybe for the next report how we can maybe tease out a wee bit of information to maybe put around some of the quantities behind that to maybe tell the story a wee bit better than what we've done, if that's okay.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
So our vacancy situation is not new, as this committee knows. And so what we've done is a level of work to look at the analysis of our recruitment and retention. We've got Grow Your Own. We know that we're going to realise 14 social workers back into the system over the next 2 years. We've also brought in much more greater third sector spend, which you can see in the next report, because we're shifting some of our interventions to early help. So whilst we still have issues around vacancies, we're able to mitigate the impact and the risk because of the balance of care and the focus on keeping children in Inverclyde as opposed to, getting caught up with the processes around accommodating them and child protection. So because more family support, more chance of sustaining it. It is a continual issue for Inverclyde, but the same across the board nationally, and I think we're doing okay in that area. We monitor the level of vacancies. The biggest issue that we've got is the inexperience of our social workers, and that's not because they aren't committed. They're very young in terms of their career span, and that's why we've brought in new practice models like signs of safety that's strength-based and that have frameworks that are evidence-based, as well as in continuing to invest in our national third sector partners. Do you want to add anything?
Thank you. Through yourself, convener, I suppose just to add, Councillor Armstrong, to what Kate has said, that I suppose the shift in our practice model and really investing in early help and family support in particular means that we're able to look at the skill mix as well. So whilst we've got a number of social workers who are at the beginning of their career, we do need to bring them on, and there's a focus not just on recruitment but on retention and what the upskilling will be over the next few years around professional development, but also that skill mix with experienced paraprofessionals as parts of those teams as well. I suppose just a final note for me, I've asked actually this morning about our ongoing recruitment to social work posts in children and families, and we are interviewing later this week, and there has been a really positive response this time for the posts that we've advertised, to the point where we were able to do some fairly robust shortlisting, so we are very hopeful that we're actually getting not just the level of interest but the depth of experience as well, so hopeful for the future.
Thanks very much, Jonathan, that's great news, and thanks for the very responses. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Armstrong, and good to get that information. Okay, are we happy to approve the recommendations then at page 2 of the papers? Agreed. Thanks very much. That takes us on to agenda item number 3, Interplay Carer Strategy, and that's something over to Alan Best to talk us through that. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm really pleased to bring the Carer Strategy 2026-29 to the Scrutiny Board. The report provides an update to the Scrutiny panel on the Inverclyde strategy, outlining its purpose, vision, priorities and approach to implementation. The strategy has been co-produced with carers, unpaid carers, young carers, supported by Carers Gateway and Your Voice, ensuring that carers' lived experiences directly shaped the development of the strategy. It builds on previous strategy 2017 to 22 and responds to the current challenges within health and social care services, and really strongly recognises carers as an essential to sustaining local services and the role that they play in the support of loved ones. The strategy vision is for a caring Inverclyde where carers are visible, empowered and celebrated. It focuses on 5 key themes. The identification and empowerment, making sure carers are recognised early and supported to feel confident in their role as a carer. Looks at breaks from caring and provides opportunities for carers to take time out and to recharge. Education, training and employment, helping carers access learning and work opportunities that fit around their caring role. Wellbeing support, ensuring carers have access to emotional, physical and practical support, and equal partnership in health settings to ensure that carers as partners are involved appropriately in the decisions about the person that they care for. Within the document, there is also a strong emphasis placed on the short breaks as vital to carers' mental, emotional and physical well-being to help prevent burnout and support recovery from stress and trauma. The strategy aligns with the Carers Scotland Act 2016 and the national definitions of short breaks. The Carer Strategy will improve access to support, provide more opportunity for breaks and enhance carers' well-being and ensure that involved in decisions about those they care for. For the HSCP, it will strengthen community resilience, help to ease some of the challenges in services and very strongly recognise the role that unpaid carers as essential partners in sustainable care play their part. And that includes young carers as well. This helps maintain independence and better outcomes for our community in Inverclyde. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Alan. I don't see any. Apologies, Councillor Armstrong.
Thanks, convener. I think this is a really good, clear, accessible document. I think it's really good. My question is, sometimes people are kind of actually sometimes quite a long path into becoming a carer. You know, the person they care for is deteriorating, becoming more frail, vulnerable and so on. But sometimes people become a carer, you know, within a few hours with no notice, you know, and none of us know when we might become a carer. And I suppose my question is, how can we best ensure that the information that's in here and the support that's available is as known about as widely as possible? Because I think, you know, there are people, as I say, who, you know, suddenly within the course of a few hours, certainly within the course of a day, find themselves as a carer. And that's different from someone who may be watching someone become more vulnerable or whatever, and may have time to think, well, what could I be looking for? And I just want to know what we're doing to make sure that this information and the support that's available is known about as widely as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you for that question. And speaking from personal experience as a carer myself, the scenarios that you talk about there, I fully recognise that, and we also recognise that even when somebody is a carer, recognise the carer, they're seeking support and help comes at a later stage, perhaps when it could have come earlier. And I think that's why it's really important working with our partners at Carers Gateway and across services, really putting the carer in the centre as well as the individual that we provide support to make sure that they're recognised in their role, but also the support that's out there. The Carers Gateway has produced a very accessible and very user-friendly online source for people to seek support, advice, signposting to other organisations, but also to make sure that our staff in HSAP are making sure for people who are maybe not so literate and are accessible to digital, that all of us are having that conversation about the carers. I think we've got a bit of work to go there in that part, but I think that's certainly this strategy strengthens and underpins that all of us have a role to recognise the carer, whatever stage in the journey they are at, including young carers, to make sure that they're really upfront in terms of how we provide services and how we signpost.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd just like to add to this that one of the things that I have noticed about this new carers strategy and our contract with Unity is that they are much more visible and they provide a much more of an outreach model. So the hidden carers and the carers that sometimes don't know they're carers, or the carers, the interface between primary care is much stronger than it would have been before, and their ability to even develop relationships with other providers. So I was really thoughtful around some of our other commission services who are able to tell me that that carers organisation integrates some of the work that they're doing with our other third sector, because the care for might be getting looked after, but the needs of the carer are not, they are recognised, but they're not given that holistic support. And what we've been finding is through the outreach models, carers that were previously hidden in the older model are now being seen. So I've seen a big difference in our delivery. And I would want to say that the plan is co-produced by carers, which is quite different from what we've done in the past, and with our carer organisation, and it's authentic and it gives a sense of what's important to carers. And we're quite proud of the work that they have done with us and for carers.
Thank you. I think it's authenticity is very, very obvious. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that's great, and that's good to hear that. I remember, I think when Carers Gateway first got involved, I saw councillor groups at this event as well. At one of our secondary schools, that they were there, they were really visible, and they were trying to, I think, do all that outreach that you mentioned, Kate, to make sure, in particular, that young carers understood that they were carers, and made sure that people, a lot of people didn't even realise that they had that role, and trying to identify young carers in schools who might not have seen themselves in that way before. Councillor Finlay.
Thank you. Obviously, it's a very interesting paper from my perspective. One thing that struck me was the sort of statistic from page 31. Basically, that 15% of our carers are over 50. And obviously, I was just wondering, and looking at the type of carers we have identified in the paper, other carers, spousal carers, kinship carers, etc. Do we have any idea of the sort of variation of those different caring roles with regard to ages? So, for instance, if you're 65 plus, are you more likely to be a spousal carer, or is it most could it be what they call grandparents looking after children, that kind of thing? I'm just wondering what's the sort of the changes in the caring profile as the babies.
For Inverclyde, it can be all of them in the one family, to be honest with you, because of the families are more likely to want to care for the cared for. So you might have a grandmother who's a kinship carer, who's looking after her husband, who's also looking after her daughter. So it'd be hard to disaggregate out. And I think that the most important thing is that we build holistic care round about it. And we're not, in the past, when we did the carer strategy, we wouldn't have included kinship care, to be quite honest with you. So we're looking at that, but it's because we know the kinship carers are more likely to be adult carers too, because that's the prevalence of the type of person that puts themselves into that role. So that we have to be thoughtful, not always just looking at an assessment for one individual. It could be multiple individuals within a family.
Thank you. Councillor Moran.
Aye, thanks, Kavina. I think Councillor Armstrong was saying, about becoming a carer, overnight, we weren't expecting it because it's thrust upon you. And this report goes a long way to say to people, we understand your position and we're here to help you. Where in the past you were funding about going to public post, where they go. Now we have a focus on the carers, where they can go, carers gateway, they can go there and get all the information required. And a lot of times, I can probably say perfect, a lot of the carers are caring because the people are caring for, they refuse to talk to services. They just don't want anyone outside the family and to help. So if this goes some way to reassure them that there is help out there too, and if you could go to speak to someone and you've got the right information required, and this is the kind of document and the strategy we need. So I'm very much in favour of it. Well done at the also. Just and of course the care do a big help using this document.
Thanks very much. I'm sure all those comments will be really welcome for everyone involved. Okay, so can we agree with recommendations on page 17 of the panel?
Agreed.
Thank you. And moving on to agenda item number 4, so that's the Jonathan is going to introduce the Children and Families redesign paper. Thank you.
Thank you. For yourself, I suppose on behalf of Margaret, we've wanted to be here today. This report provides members of the Scrutiny panel an update on the development of the intensive family support service and also family-based care strategy, namely the development around our fostering campaign in Inverclyde. Members will be familiar with the work that has been undertaken over the past year to develop our intensive model of support to families and also to young people with care experience. And through the course of the autumn, we identified through the procurement process that Aberlour would be appointed as our partners from the third sector to deliver that service with us. So there are 2 key areas focusing on the intensive support to older young people who have experience of care up to the age of 26, and also intensive bespoke support to families with younger children, really to try and enhance that earlier help and intervention and reduce the likelihood of children coming into care placements. So it is very focused on improving outcomes for families, about reducing that risk of family breakdown and reducing the likelihood of needing to either move into an external placement, but also to try and build the family capacity for children to return to Inverclyde as well. So it states very clearly, and hopefully it's clear within the report, the model of Aberlour is about building on family strengths and the connections in our communities and recognising that as multi-systemic. So it's not just around social work, it's with education, it's with health, and it's with the third and independent sector, as well as the wider family. But also the model recognises that the need for that additional support isn't always whenever we are at work, and it's therefore built into the model practice that Aberlour operate from 8 AM to 10 PM, and that's the 2nd day a week model. One of the unique elements of this model, which has only been in place since early December, I would add, is that we are co-located at the James Watt building with our staff. So it's the first time with their intensive support model that co-location has been built in. And I think that's going to be helpful in fostering a really trusting and clear relationship with our and to get a better understanding of our landscape and the needs of our families and our communities as well. So as I said, it's a very early stage update to members, but the information at 3.3 highlights the founding principles around building on relationships and being strengths focused within families, as well as that focus on local communities. And there's some initial feedback from local people and families at 3.10 as well. Aberlour will be at the centre of their launch event, which is the World Social Work Day next week, on the 17th of March, and staff and social workers who have been working with Aberlour will expand on their initial successes and their hopes for further embedding that model in the future. I do think certainly it's a model that, with the investment that Council committed to this to enable us to build the intensive support model, that we'll be able to come back in due course with some further analysis and really some analysis around the outcomes and the impact that the model is having. But after the first 12 weeks, 23 families were already receiving intensive support through the bespoke assessment model that's been introduced. So it's very much hit the ground running, and the early indications of buying are very positive. The second part of the report from 3.11 onwards provides an update on the ongoing work to develop our fostering capacity in Inverclyde, and members will be familiar again with reports that came last year in terms of the need to increase our fostering fee to remain competitive as a fostering agency, and that has now been put in place with the individual fee increasing to £350 per week per child. And that again is another aspect of the redesign to increase our local capacity to enable more children to remain in the local communities in Inverclyde. So the report gives some brief information on the work that has been undertaken already, and that includes strengthening the management of our family-based care team and developing that broader strategy for staff and for our communities as well. And alongside that, we are moving ahead with different strands of our campaign, targeting the registered workforce in Inverclyde, recognising that the council is the biggest employer, that we have our own staff and our own skill base within the Health and Social Care Partnership, as well as within the council and our third sector partners. So we're in the process of taking that message out to those groups of staff within Inverclyde and with our partners as well. We're also working with council comms and some external support to finalise our digital marketing strategy, which we're expecting to launch in the next few months. And I suppose as part of that progressive iterative campaign, rather than everything happening at one time, it's about how we build this campaign over several months. But I suppose really in terms of the investment, we're already seeing some of that return in terms of cost avoidance. 4.1, members can see that already with this new strategy, 6 children have been placed with local Inverclyde foster carers who would otherwise have been placed with external providers. And last year, whenever we did some of the cost analysis around this, an external foster care placement was on average in excess of £60,000 a year. So we expected the cost avoidance there is between 360 and 400,000 already. So it is a long-term plan, as we've always said, but at least we're beginning to see the early indications of that being effective. There are other key developments within 4.1 and a bit more detail in terms of the campaign and the digital moving forward. But we do expect to see further impact of that campaign and really, again, picking up the theme of co-production, working with our existing foster carers to develop the learning and development model, and already seeing greater investment in that and through quarterly fostering appreciation days, etc., really pushing the local profile of fostering in Inverclyde. So it is a summary of work so far, but certainly we will be able to bring a further report back as the year progresses in terms of being able to realise some of the added impact that fostering campaign is having. But happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. I think it's a paper that gives a really good introduction. I'm sure members will be keen to see an update on it in due course and even hear a bit more about it if they're able to attend the World Social Work Day event next week. So no, that's really good to hear. Councillor Armstrong.
I thank you.
Oh sorry, right, Councillor.
No, okay, thanks for going to, you know, I mean, I know that going to be a significant increase in the, you know, the allowance we give to the foster parents. And that's only part of it, but I'm more happy with the creation of the foster hub, connects foster family experience, extended foster family there for support. And we talk because in past experience we found that, you know, people thought they would be ideal foster parents and had every skill under the sun you could imagine. And they feel miserable because, for whatever reason, I don't know. And once they did all the training, everything else, and then the end of it, they just weren't up for it. But this new fostering hub, it's going to give them an understanding of what the real job is. You know, they'll see it in action, rather than go through essays and bits of paper, the training we give them and stuff like that, which is really good. But this, to me, the fostering hub is far more important because we'll actually see it in action and we'll see what a foster parent is. You know, it's not about the money. Of course, the money is very important because you should be getting paid for it. But to get the extra help from the peer group, to me, is a great step forward. And another thing is, one of the highlights of this report, is we'll get that extra support for folks doing it.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thanks very much, convener. Yeah, very much welcome the report. I think would like thanks passed on to Margaret because, you know, who's not here today, but for all her work, and I particularly welcome the placement of Inverclyde children with Inverclyde families. I think it's a very good story, good news story, and I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Armstrong. And I think just to add to that, I think I'm sure people agree that we really appreciate our foster carer workforce and the everything that they do for Inverclyde young people, for and young people across the whole who, you know, for reasons that are unavoidable, they're not able to stay in their families at that point. So really appreciate what they do. Okay, thank you. I think we just need to agree recommendations on page 63.
Great.
Agree.
And that takes us on to agenda item number 5. And transit station.